Deep in the uncharted wilderness lay a forgotten logging camp. Towering pines stood like gnarled sentinels, their branches heavy with secrets. A thick blanket of fog clung to the forest floor, muffling every sound. The camp itself was a desolate collection of decaying buildings, their wooden bones slowly surrendering to nature. A rusted saw blade, half buried in the earth, glinted ominously in the fading light. As darkness descended, shadows stretched and twisted, whispering tales of a troubled past. It was said that the camp was haunted by the restless spirits of loggers who had met untimely ends. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying chilling tales of the haunted logging camp. Old-timers spoke of the camp in hushed tones, telling tales of strange occurrences and shadowy figures. One tale spoke of Big Ed, who met his end when a massive Douglas fir came crashing down upon him. On moonless nights, his anguished cries could still be heard echoing through the forest. Others told of a young logger, his life cut short by a malfunctioning saw, wandering the camp searching for his lost love. As the years turned into decades, the logging camp fell further into disrepair, reclaimed by the wilderness. But the stories persisted, a chilling testament to the enduring power of fear. One stormy night, a group of young loggers dared each other to spend the night in the abandoned bunkhouse. They laughed off the stories, their words braver than their hearts. As the storm raged outside, the loggers settled down for the night in the dilapidated bunkhouse. One by one, they drifted off to sleep, their dreams haunted by images of falling trees and ghostly figures. But one young logger, Billy, lay awake, feeling something was amiss. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream ripped through the night, jolting Billy from his uneasy slumber. He sat bolt upright, his heart pounding in his chest. The other loggers scrambled to their feet, their faces pale with terror. The loggers rushed to their comrade, finding him trembling uncontrollably. "I saw him," he stammered, pointing to a dark corner. The other loggers exchanged uneasy glances. As they approached, a cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the candle. Panic surged as they stumbled about blindly. Then they heard a low, guttural growl from the darkness. Heavy footsteps circled them, yet when they reached out, there was nothing there. Terror gripped their hearts as they realized they were trapped with something sinister. The loggers huddled together, listening in terror as the footsteps continued to circle them. Then the sound stopped, and an eerie silence descended upon the bunkhouse. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the darkness, followed by splintering wood. One logger, driven mad with fear, bolted for the door, only to be thrown back with bone-jarring force. The others caught a fleeting glimpse of a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. The figure lunged, and the sound of tearing flesh and bone followed. As dawn broke, the remaining loggers stumbled out, haunted by the night's horrors. They had seen things that would haunt their nightmares forever. The legend of the haunted logging camp spread through the surrounding towns. Some dismissed it as the ravings of terrified men, but others knew better. An old woman claimed to know the truth behind the haunting, speaking of an ancient curse. She warned that the spirits of the fallen loggers were restless, seeking revenge on the living. Despite the warnings, the allure of valuable timber proved too strong for some. Small crews ventured into the forest, but few returned. Those who did bore the marks of the forest's curse, telling stories of strange occurrences and ghostly figures. The legend of the haunted logging camp continued to grow. One tale spoke of a lone lumberjack who ventured into the cursed forest, seeking a valuable tree. He worked tirelessly, but as the tree fell, it let out an unearthly shriek. The lumberjack heard inhuman growls and snarls erupting from the woods. He knew he had awakened something ancient and evil. He turned to flee, but shadowy figures emerged from the trees. They surrounded him, their forms shifting and swirling like smoke. The lumberjack screamed, but his plea was swallowed by the darkness, and then silence. The search party found the lumberjack's axe, but he was nowhere to be found. Some whispered that the forest had swallowed him whole, claiming his soul. Others believed he had been dragged off by vengeful spirits. The legend of the vanishing lumberjack strengthened the hold of the haunted camp over the locals. The camp remained abandoned, its buildings collapsing, but the stories lived on. The legend was a chilling reminder of the unseen forces lurking in the shadows. Years turned into decades, and the legend of the haunted camp faded into obscurity. But the spirits of the fallen loggers continued to wander the woods. One day, a group of teenagers ventured into the forbidden woods, seeking the abandoned camp. As they made their way deeper, the air grew heavy with an oppressive silence. They stumbled upon the clearing where the camp once stood, finding decaying buildings. The air hung heavy with the smell of damp earth and decaying wood. The teenagers explored the ruins, their flashlights illuminating dusty bunks and cobweb-covered tools. They came across a small, overgrown graveyard. One teenager, Jake, noticed a larger grave set apart from the others. The headstone read, "Here lies Old Man Timber, founder of this camp. May he rest in peace." A chill ran down Jake's spine as he read the inscription. As dusk settled, the teenagers decided to head back, but Jake was missing. They called out his name, but there was no answer. Panic set in as they searched for their friend. As darkness descended, the remaining teenagers stumbled through the woods. They heard a blood-curdling scream, followed by splintering wood. They raced towards the sound and found Jake, his eyes wide with terror. A grotesque figure with burning green eyes stood over him. The figure lunged, and the teenagers watched in horror as Jake disappeared beneath a tangle of limbs and shadows. They turned and fled, their screams echoing through the night. They never returned to the haunted camp and never spoke of what they had seen. The memory of that night haunted their dreams, a chilling reminder of the unseen forces lurking in the shadows.